So I have started the recording now. I'm sorry, I didn't start the recording in the beginning. I forgot. So we don't have a recording for 1 hour at least. Fine, whatever we have. So what we have seen, let me revise it again. So we have seen transitions and the animations. So we have seen CSS3 transitions and the animation. So what do you mean by the transitions that we have seen? And now we are understanding what are the animations, right? CSS3 animations are powerful way to create dynamic and interactive web experiences without relying on the JavaScript or any other scripting languages. Independent, just from the CSS we need to create the animations. So you don't need to write the JavaScript at all. For certain things you need to write, but you don't need to write at all. 90% of the times you don't need to write the JS. They allow you to smoothly animate the HTML elements by defining the keyframes and specifying how elements should transition between those keyframes. The CSS animations are widely supported by the modern web browsers. So in the transition we have seen timing functions. Linear is, I will revise it a little bit later on. But here animations, what do you mean by animation, that we have seen. And now the key concepts of the animation. Keyframe. So first key concept you need to know is keyframe. Keyframe. Then animation properties. Some CSS animation properties. Animation properties. What do you mean by keyframe? We will understand this first. Keyframes are the foundations of the CSS animations. When you say keyframes, keyframes are the foundations of the CSS animation. They define intermediate stages of the animation. Remember that. What they define? They define intermediate stages of an animation. You can specify the keyframes at the different percentage of the animation durations. Means what it will look like at the 10%, what it will look like at the 50%, 75%, 100%. So when you talk about the keyframes are the foundation of the CSS, they define the intermediate stages of an animation. Intermediate stages. You can specify the keyframes at the different percentages of the animation duration. For example, 0%, 25%, 50, 75, 100. And these keyframe describes the styles changes that occur at those key points, right? Now, what are the animation properties? CSS animation controlled by the properties. Animations are controlled using the various properties which are including keyframes. At keyframe is one of the CSS property. Define the keyframe of the animation. Animation name. It's like a, now we will relate with the transition as well. Animation duration. Animation duration. Set the duration of the animation. Timing function. We talked about different timing functions. Linear, ease in, ease out, cubic Bezier. Animation delay. Animation delay. Delays the start of the animation. Animation iteration count. How many times you need to repeat this animation. Determines how many times the animation need to be repeated. Animation direction. Animation direction controls whether the animation runs forward, backward, or alternate. Animation fill mode specifies how the element behaves before and after the animation. Fill mode, before and after the animation. pauses and resumes the animation play state, right? Animation play state. Now let's try to build our own animation. Let's try to build. I feel very bad for not starting the recording. We have missed 1 hour of recording. anim.html, anim.css, html5 animation, link rel css anim, main. Here we can say html body width 100 vw, height 100 vh, main display flex, width 100%, height 90%, justify content center, align items center. And here we can say one div class box. So in the CSS, let's create the box. Width 3em, height 3em, background color cadet blue, anim.html, or 20% height, 20%, width 20%, height 20%. Okay, this is the box. Now if you want, what I want to do, slide in animation, the way we have seen in transition, right? Slide in. Same thing we try to do over here. For that we need to create the keyframe first. Keyframes, right? Name slide hyphen in, add the 0%. Remember that what is a keyframes? At the different stages, what would be the styles? Here you can say transform, translate x minus 100%, then 100% at the time of completion, transform, translate x 0, right? 0. So keyframes we have decided how it would be at 0%, how it would be at 100%. Now inside of the box, we need to set this animation, we need to play animation name, we can say whatever name you have given over here, this name you need to provide, slide in, animation duration, 1 second, then animation timing function is animation timing function is. Now box colon hover when you would be starting the animation. Animation play state. Animation play state paused. Just refresh it again. So it is continuously animating. Remember that. Animation duration. Can you see 0 ms? We can give just a minute. So animation duration, you can say 10 seconds. We can say what? 10 seconds. Or we can say here 3 seconds. And animation iteration count. Animation iteration count. Infinite. Infinite. Now refresh it. Infinitely it would be moving, and you hover it, it would be paused. When you hover it, it would be paused. Hello? Refresh it. Can you see when you hover it, it will become bigger. Transform, we have applied a transform on the hover. Let's remove that. Just refresh it. Now if you see minus 100%, or here you can say 0 to 100%. See now what happens. Just refresh it. Presently nothing will happen. So here we can say minus 200% to 200%. Just refresh it. Hello? %, I think. Okay, let's add one more stage in between. 50%. 50% transform, we can say rotate 2 turns. Okay. Minus 100%. 1000%. Can you see 2 turns? 50%, rotate one turn. Something like this. But at the 50%, it should take turn. I think 50% is somewhere else and it is rotating at that time, correct? Or it might be rotating and coming over here. Okay, transform at the 50%. Okay, let's do one thing. If I make 0% over here, then rotation will happen. Here we can specify the degrees also, 180 degrees. %. Here we can add translate x 0%, and then rotate. It is moving and rotating. So if we increase this, at the 50%, you are saying that it should rotate. You can comment this out and refresh it and see. It is starting from there, and meanwhile it will rotate. Or here we can transform scale 1 and 0.5. Like this also. A lot of possibilities are there we can do. Animations will help you. Well, without animations and transitions also you can work, right? So this is a typical example of animation. CSS3 animations. So what we have discussed from the morning, right? We have discussed a responsive design. This part we have discussed in the morning. Index.html. So this is a grid layout, and you want to make it responsive. Three columns for the desktop screen, two columns for what? Tablet screen, and one column for mobile screen, right? One column for mobile screen. So this we have created in the index.html over here. In the index.html, if you see style.css, we just have changed the media queries. We just have changed what? Media queries. If you see container display grid, okay, and can you see here for the mobile one column, for tablet 2 columns, for computer screen 3 columns. So what I'm saying, here, say that again. Correct. So I can add one thing over here. Just one thing over here. Now see, transition grid template columns 0.5x is. So presently what's happening? Can you see the effect is not that smooth? Now if I refresh it, but still it is not or happening. Style.css grid template columns. Do we need to add anything else? I don't think any problem over here. But we need to make a trial and error, right? To make this guy smooth. Well, we need to add, I think, JS also. We need to add JavaScript as well to achieve this. Fine, no problem. But what we have seen, okay, instead of this, opacity. Okay, let's do one thing. By default opacity is 0, then make 1. So I think what's happening here, make 1 second. I think opacity is not working. I think no, your element is opaque itself. We need to add JavaScript. If you add JavaScript, this can be achievable, no problem, right? But I will remove this. If we add a JavaScript over here, we can create the smooth effect for changing the things. But in the morning we have seen this thing, right? On the tablet we need 2 screens. On the desktop, sorry, three columns. On the desktop, tablet 2 columns, and this 1 column. How we have achieved? We have achieved this by means of media queries. Then we have seen what is the transition. Then we have seen what is the transition. So when you talk about the transition, CSS transition allow you to smoothly animate the changes in CSS properties over the specified duration, right? So let's go here and transi.html we have seen. Can you see this fade in and fade out effect? Can you see? It is moving and it is rotating, moving, and this. So transition. So what is the code for transition? If you can see, fade in, if you remember this thing, opacity is 0. Then transition, here you can say a transition opacity 1. Opacity is the attribute at CSS3 property. See here, what is the syntax? Property on which transition needs to be applied, initial value of that property. Then the transition keyword, property. So whatever property you have written over here, same thing you need to write. Duration, timing function, and the delay, right? Duration, timing function, and the delay. Then we have seen there are a lot of timing functions available. Linear, ease in, ease out, cubic Bezier. What do you mean by linear? What do you mean by linear? Constant rate. So animation will happen at the constant rate. This is not the linear. This is a ease. What do you mean by ease? Start slow, right? Starts slow, accelerates in middle, and slows down again at the end, right? Then we have seen ease in, ease out. Starts slow and rapidly towards the end, accelerates rapidly towards the end. Ease out, starts quickly and deaccelerates as it approaches the end. Then the cubic Bezier. So when you talk about the cubic Bezier, what do you mean by cubic Bezier? That we will see now. I told you we are going to see this animation, cubic Bezier, right? So in the animation, well, we have seen these many things in the, what you can say, in the transitions. In the morning we have seen these many things in the transitions, right? Then we have seen the timing functions, different timing functions, and we have seen all of these timing functions. And now we will talk about the cubic Bezier. Okay, so here I can create new file, cb.html, and new cb.css, html5, cubic Bezier. Bezier, demo. Cubic Bezier. Now import the CSS. cb.css. So here HTML body width 100 VW, height 100 VH, main width 100%, height 90%, display flex, justify content center, align items center, dot box width 20%, height 20%, background color caded blue. Also then animation, let's create the animation at keyframes, and we can say slider from 0% to 100%, transform translate. So animation name slider, animation name slider, animation duration 2 seconds, and timing function cubic Bezier, animation iteration count indefinite, div class box, cb. Cubic Bezier, this something is happening, but just a minute. Hello. You are not, we are not understanding it because it is happening actually, right? It is happening, but instead of instead of width 0% to width 100%. Let us see now what happens. So the way width is increasing, it is in the form of cubic Bezier. Hello. It is not smooth, but cubic Bezier in this form, it is incrementing. We can have some other values also. Can you see? Width is increasing in the cubic Bezier form. At the middle, it goes down. Suddenly, it increases. Hello? So instead of transform, we use the width attribute. Any attribute we can use, correct? Width or any attribute we can use. This is how your transitions and animations will work. That's it for the day. Let me push this much code. CSS3 transitions and animations. Hello? Say that again. I can't see your screen. Oh, yeah, no problem. We have concluded the session. Okay. And here is the end of CSS. So here our CSS completes and we are good to go ahead with the JavaScript. Okay. Fine. Let's call it for a day. We'll meet tomorrow. Do you have any question? Yeah. Then thank you.